Well, hello everyone and happy Friday. It's digital host A.J. Wuest welcoming you back to Before the Four, the live stream where I go through some of 48's top news stories and then some before the 4 o'clock newscast. I say it every day, wherever you're watching this fabulous Friday. Thank you so much for watching and spending just a bit of your Friday afternoon here. Now let's begin with a look at the weather heading into the weekend. Rain and the threat of thunderstorms are expected to be rolling in. And we have 48 First Alert Chief Meteorologist Brad Travis with a look at what he's seeing this afternoon. Brad?
All quiet out there today. It's been a warm day, and we thought that was going to happen. It's been overcast out there, but we don't have any rain anywhere to talk about. Higher threat of severe weather in red as we go late Sunday night into Monday morning. As far as tomorrow goes, I think our best chance of rain comes very late in the afternoon and may last overnight through early Sunday morning. But most of Sunday afternoon will be pretty uneventful, just very warm out there. But as we get into the late night hours, primary concerns, large hail and damaging winds, but there will be the potential for some isolated tornadoes. This all moves in after 10 o'clock in the northwest corner of the state, roughly through 3 a.m. in red, and then midnight to 4 a.m. The line will weaken after about 2 o'clock in the morning as it tracks farther to the east. So still plenty of things to keep an eye out for. Right now, nothing on radar. And by 10:45 Saturday, we see more widespread rain developing. That'll continue overnight into Sunday morning, and then we get an extended break as we get into the afternoon hours. But again, depending on how much rain we get in the morning and when it clears out, that could limit some of the severe weather threat late in the evening. But you notice we have a large break in the rain, and then as we get past, say, 12 o'clock to midnight Monday morning, that's when we're watching the threat for severe weather. We'll keep you up to date. Stay weather alert.
Well, thank you, Brad. And now moving out to Decatur, where a person was killed and 2 were injured in a crash along Danville Road this morning. The wreck occurred at the intersection of Danville and Ashley Drive. Both northbound and southbound lanes on Danville Road between Ashley Drive and Fremont Street were closed for several hours earlier today. According to Decatur police, those lanes have now reopened. The person killed has not yet been identified at this time, but we'll be sure to update you both on air and online as soon as we learn more. But now in New Hope, where earlier today we sadly learned that a 2-year-old drowned last night. According to the Madison County Sheriff's Office, the child drowned in the area of Ed Spears Road. Authorities say they responded to the area around 6 last night after reports of a missing child. First responders found the child unresponsive in a body of water. Life-saving measures were performed, but the child was pronounced dead at the scene. The sheriff's office says there's no indication of foul play. But now here's a story in case you missed it. Recently, Governor Kay Ivey signed a bill that would make the possession of a Glock switch illegal. Last night, 48's Nick Ballinger spoke with Madison County District Attorney Tim Gann, who says the new law will likely lead to more charges.
1,200 rounds per minute, all from a small device placed on the end of a pistol. The lieutenant of the North Alabama Drug Task Force sums up a Glock switch best.
It converts a semi-automatic pistol into a machine gun.
Alabama became the 24th state to make Glock switches illegal. But before then, Madison County District Attorney Tim Gann says charging offenders wasn't just difficult, it was impossible.
Our hands were tied. We could not prosecute anything having to do with Glock switches. We were seeing them being pulled off the street. We were seeing the arrest, but there was nothing that we could do about it.
Glock switches were against federal laws, but not state law. So if you were arrested with one in Alabama, you'd only be charged if federal prosecutors got involved. That didn't always happen. Since February of 2024, 38 people in Alabama were charged for having a switch, none in Limestone or Morgan County, and just 3 in Madison County. Gann says if this law would have been in place during that time, the number would be higher.
They could not prosecute juveniles. So we were seeing a whole lot of juveniles with these fully automatic weapons, and there was nothing we could do about it. We're going to prosecute those full bore. We have seen firsthand how dangerous they are and the effect they've had on our community.
Prosecutors say a gun with a Glock switch killed HPD officer Billy Clardy a few years ago. Lieutenant Joe Kennington says remembering Clardy is what makes this law personal.
It is a personal element. I mean, anytime that we have something that not only brings, significant dangers to society and the people that we serve, but it brings danger to us, we do take it personally, and we are relentless when it comes to getting things like that off the streets.
And now following up on a Huntsville shooting earlier this week that left one dead and another in custody. 33-year-old Thaddeus Stewart was arrested and charged with murder. Yesterday, 48's Callie Nee spoke with residents along Turf Avenue. Take a listen to what neighbors had to say about the situation.
Monday night, shots were fired here on Turf Avenue. Minister Robert Collier heard 2 shots and ran outside to see what was going on. He told me when he got outside, he saw a man lying on the ground and others arguing.
I instantly came back in and called 911 and told them that shots had been fired.
He showed me some photos from that night that are too graphic for television. Police identified the man Collier saw lying on the ground as 33-year-old Thaddeus Stewart. Police officials say he was transported to the hospital but later died of his injuries. Police say that Marvin Kendall is the man who shot Stewart. He was reportedly picked up by the Gulf Coast Regional Task Force near the intersection of Washington Street and Pratt Avenue here in Huntsville. Court records show Kendall has an extensive arrest history, including arrests for drugs and resisting arrest. He was also arrested for robbery and kidnapping as a young man, but those charges were dismissed, according to court records. Collier says the neighborhood is slowly returning to normal, but he says most of the neighbors are still shaken up.
Their comfort zone or safety zone has been rattled. So naturally, they're going to be a little bit on guard. But everything is back to the way it was. If you were to ask me if there's work to be done, absolutely.
This case is still under investigation. 48 News will update you as new information becomes available. Reporting in Huntsville, Callie Nee, 48 News, on your side.
And today, Callie is continuing to follow up with the victim's family regarding the situation, coming up in our evening newscast, so make sure to stay tuned for that. But now in the Shoals, where we've seen a recent string of fatal shootings in the city of Florence. There's growing concern in that community. 48's Aria Pons reports.
Yes, these 2 events happened to occur in close time proximity with one another. It doesn't suggest a pattern. It doesn't suggest an increase in violence.
Florence Police Chief Mike Holt says his officers are put through a lot of training, but every call they respond to is unique and anything can happen. One of those instances happened Tuesday with a bank robbery turned car chase turned officer-involved shooting.
Our officers are well trained, and what you saw this week, whether it's patrol officers or if it's investigators, you saw the result of that. You saw officers being thrust into a situation that they did not start, and they had to make very critical life-saving and life-changing decisions, not on the fly, mind you. They based it off their training and their experience.
That incident left the suspect dead, a bystander hurt, and a Florence police officer in the hospital with a gunshot wound.
He had a successful surgery, and like I said, it's successful, and he has been discharged, or is being discharged now, but he'll be home this evening if he's not already home, so we're very happy about that.
Then, about 24 hours later, officers were called to a deadly shooting at the Southern Oaks Village Apartments. Florence Police Chief Mike Holt says the victim and the suspect were actually working together to rob someone else when the shooting started. Chief Holt is asking the public for help getting all the facts in this case.
If they've heard anything, if they happen to have video footage of anything that they think might be helpful, we would absolutely like to review that, and our detectives would be very interested in that.
In response to the violence of the week, Holt wants to ease the community's concerns. He says all of his employees go through several layers of training. When
I say training, it's not a one and done situation. It's an ongoing effort, whether it be scenario-based training, tabletop exercises for supervisors possibly, those kind of things that from the time they walk into our door, they're getting trained.
Well, now coming up after the break, we'll talk about an annual fishing tournament in Scottsboro splashing off. We'll have details on that. And speaking of splash, we'll talk about both Alabama and Auburn basketball. Incredible win last night for the Tide, and previewing tonight's game for the Tigers. It's all ahead. I'll see you all in 90 seconds. And yep, the time is up. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Before the Four. Now in Scottsboro, where the Big Bass Splash kicked off yesterday afternoon, and anglers are baiting their hooks and exploring the honey holes of Lake Guntersville for the bragging rights of catching the biggest bass and over $300,000 in prizes. The annual fishing tournament brings in quite a bit of revenue for the area. 48 Savannah Sapp with the details.
It's always an honor to be able to be at a place that can show everyone some of the benefits that we have of living here.
Big Bass Splash kicked off at Goose Pond Colony on Thursday, an annual tournament that General Manager Lyle Sosby looks forward to each year. The tournament welcomes amateur anglers who compete for more than $300,000 in prizes. Sosby says the marina fell on hard times back in December when a fire claimed a good bit of Dock 6, but they are still pulling in fishermen and boaters with the long-standing event.
We're very happy when we see our gas stations and our hotels and our restaurants affected like they are, not just this tournament, but any tournament that we hold at Goose Pond.
Sosby says Big Bass Splash brings in thousands in revenue across the county. Tournament director Chris Bennett says that has been the case for more than 21 years.
Well, I think we only had 165 anglers that first year. I hope we bust 1,300 this weekend.
Bennett took over the tournament in honor of the original director and his father-in-law, Bob Seeley. Bennett says they plan to keep coming each year to boost the economy on Lake Guntersville.
One of the most amazing places I've ever seen, and I can't not talk about the people because that is the reason why we come back. Some of the best people in the world that I've met live right here in the state of Alabama.
And registration for the tournament began today with plenty of fishing and awards to follow this weekend. Reporting in Scottsboro, I'm Savannah Sapp, 48 News on your side.
Pretty awesome stuff right there. Yes, best of luck to any anglers out there fishing on Lake Guntersville. I hope you catch the biggest bass for sure. But now I'm sure you all saw it last night. The Alabama Crimson Tide is staying dancing after absolutely steamrolling BYU last night. 113-88 the final score there. 25 three-pointers. It's a new record. And now tonight, the Auburn Tigers look to take care of Michigan. On Wednesday, I spoke with athletic reporter Chris Fanini on that matchup. Take a listen.
Auburn is going to play a Michigan team here that has been up and down toward the end of the season. They won the Big Ten tournament, though, and they won their first two games, just beat Texas A&M. So they are kind of on a bit of a roll right now. But it's a team that wins a lot of close games. I think something like 11 or 12 of their last 15 wins have all come by 4 points or fewer. They keep pulling a lot of these games out at the end, which is a skill to have, but they're not a great free throw shooting team. They turn the ball over a lot. Auburn is going to be a really difficult matchup for Michigan. So between the two teams, between Auburn and Alabama, I think Auburn's probably got a better path right now. And then depending on the Elite Eight, do you play Ole Miss? Do you play Michigan State? Either one of those will be tough, but you're always going to have a tough matchup in the Elite Eight.
Obviously with Janai Broome, but also the impact of players like Denver Jones, Pettiford, Baker Mazzara. I'd say this team is pretty stacked.
Yeah, I mean, they were the number one team for almost the entire season for a reason. They are just kind of loaded at every spot, and you've got probably the best player in the country in Joni Broome doing that. There was the struggles at the end of the regular season. You lose 3 of your last 4, but those are pretty tough games because the SEC might be the best conference in college basketball that we've ever seen this year. And through 2 games in the tournament, Auburn hasn't had much trouble. They seem to be doing pretty well. This is a team that, you lose the game to Yale last year, and you see a lot of teams when they get upset in the tournament and they bring a lot of people back the next year, they often rebound and go on a big run. Remember, Virginia lost to 16 seed UMBC. They win the national championship the next year. Purdue lost to a 16 seed in Fairleigh Dickinson. They went to the national championship game the next year. So I think everybody in that Auburn program has that taste of last year, and that continues to drive them. I know Bruce Pearl has said he doesn't like being the top seed. He likes the mentality of being an underdog and being a 12 seed. And I think that's what last year kind of does to a team, and you've seen that pretty much throughout the entire season.
Well, I'll definitely be rooting for them tonight. Tip-off starts at 8:40, and after Bama's win last night, the Crimson Tide will face Duke in the Elite Eight tomorrow night at 7:50. Take a listen to what Chris had to say about that matchup as well. What can you expect a Duke-Alabama Elite Eight matchup to look like with Mark Sears and Cooper Flagg on the same court to battle it out for the Final Four?
Yeah, I mean, two of the best players in the country, obviously. And Cooper Flagg, who got hurt in the ACC tournament, sprained his ankle, didn't come back in the tournament. He's looked good through the first two games. He seems to be good to go. He's going to be the #1 pick in the NBA draft next year. But Alabama's got size. Alabama's got length. Alabama's got really good guard play led by Mark Sears. I expect Alabama versus BYU in the Sweet 16 to be a very high-scoring game, maybe one of the highest of the entire tournament, two of the best offenses in the country. And I could say pretty similar if we got Duke, Alabama. I think those are two teams that are going to put up a lot of points if they were to meet that far again. And, SEC has had some high-scoring teams this year, and Alabama's right there.
Yes, absolutely. And he was not wrong about that. A high-scoring game last night, without a doubt. Yeah, BYU honestly did not even play bad. It was just the fact that Alabama was just spot on offensively, hitting those 25 three-pointers, which is absolutely unheard of. Alabama looked great offensively, and it sure enough was a high-scoring game. In most college basketball games, if you score 88 points, you are likely going to win that game. So major shout out to Alabama. Looking forward to seeing the Crimson Tide take on the Duke Blue Devils tomorrow night. Yes, this weekend is going to be so much fun, without a doubt. But I saw this story earlier and I'm like, my audience has to see this. So if you're watching at home, this one's for you. A Cape Coral homeowner faces an unexpected visitor, a nearly 7-foot alligator hanging out on her front porch. Madison Adam talked to the surprised woman, and you just got to take a look at this.
At this strange text saying, "This is what we see on your front porch, don't come out the door." And I said, "Who is this?" And it was our neighbors who said, "This is us across the street." We went across the street to thank them, but they're not home yet, so I owe them my life.
Thursday afternoon, an uninvited and quite unexpected guest showed up on Barbara Smith's doorstep, waiting for her to open the door. A nearly 7-foot-long alligator missing a leg.
And then I got a call from one of the police officers who said, "Barbara, what do you want us to do?" And I said, "I don't want it." They told me it was a baby, but as you saw, it was almost 7 feet long. It was not a baby.
Barbara made it clear this baby was not welcome inside her Cape Coral home on Northwest 24 Place. The gator eventually decided to take a stroll to the side of her house. FWC sent in a professional gator trapper to remove the reptile. The gator, along with 3 others caught at Fort Myers Beach, is now on its way to a new home, hopefully with better manners.
A farm in Muse, which is over between Alba and LaBelle. We've got probably 2,000 alligators in a 125-acre swamp. Okay, have a good day, guys.
Woo! Yeah, that little guy did not seem too happy. That is a crazy story there, and I'm like, you all have to see that. But yes, that is the Friday before the 4th. There is no Facebook Fun today, but don't worry, it will be back next week on Monday. Facebook Fun will be back in full swing, but that's about all the time I have for today's Before the 4. But I want to thank you all for spending a bit of your Friday afternoon here. Whatever you choose to do this weekend, have a great time doing it. Enjoy tonight's evening newscast, and make sure to stick around for Weather Extra wherever you're watching Before the 4 right now. It starts at 9:30 tonight. First Alert Chief Meteorologist Brad Travis will be giving you the weather update. But yes, have a great weekend, and as always, thank you so much for watching. You all have a great night.